100%. Cheers.
Listen, our regular co-host has some digestive issues. He's getting some of the best treatment available, and we hope the surgery goes well. We hope all of the treatments go well, and we hope he recovers. Sitting in his place is somebody marginally smarter. Bert was saying the best sitting in today is Jon Stewart.
What's up?
What's up, man?
No Bert, is he okay?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, that's not in any way giving me confidence that he's
Well, I know he got his nerve stuff is taken care of and some of his heart stuff. This is new. This is digestive stuff. And his liver is working fully well again, so that's great.
Is he the Frankenstein monster? What have they put together here?
He's got all kinds of stuff.
So today is one bear, no cave.
One bear, no cave.
One Jew. One Jew, no cave.
One bear, one Jew.
Yes.
Speaking of Israel-Palestine, solve it for us.
I'm so glad you asked me that, Tom.
I knew you would.
Come in with a plan. Have you ever? Do you talk? You don't talk. I've never seen you talk about it on stage.
Politics or
just in general. You tell the best stories.
If I can find a way in, I remember I was touring in during the election cycle of the last, something will find its way into the news where you go oh, there's an angle for me on this.
Right. I can move in.
I can move in on that, but I don't go here's my position on this because I always feel people ask me, actually I get asked sometimes, people go what's your dream job?
Yeah.
Or when Daily Show has we're going to hire a new host, people go, would you love that job? And I go, no. And they're like, why? And
wise choice.
But I say it because I go, there's just things, after you've done this a while, you go, there are people you realize there's people good for that job. You're I can name 10 people who can do that well.
Give me
and
a
I'm
list.
If you get,
I don't know how much longer I can bang out this one night a week. It's killing me.
I mean, are you having fun?
Oh yeah, no, it's a ball.
What was it like to be back in the seat the first time though?
Super weird.
Super weird?
Yeah, because it was, imagine it was like a flash forward. Have you ever seen those memes where a group of friends will take a picture and then they'll get together again 30 years later and take the exact same picture?
Yes.
So I'd been gone for 9 years.
Yeah.
And the whole day, a lot of the people that I worked with are still there.
Still there.
So it really was old home week. Really I love those guys and we have a great time together. We're having total fun, banging out the script. I'm getting real excited. Fucking put the suit on, put the makeup on, sat down in the desk thing. Camera comes up, look in the monitor, and I was just oh, that's that picture. It's the exact picture.
Yeah.
But 10 years later, which is jarring.
Sure.
Because I don't know if you know the process of erosion or dehydration, but it has changed my visage. So that part was jarring. It's, it really did feel a little bit like that Albert Brooks, defending your life. Sort of, you sit down and go, "Am I alive?"
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you had a great joke about that when we did those gigs about, I'm older.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, somebody said to me once, I was doing an interview. I think it was about the Apple show. And they said in the interview, "Has time passed you by?" And I go, "Yeah, I think that's time's job, isn't
all
it?
the time.
Isn't that it doesn't, isn't that what it does? It passes us by. And these younger people with tauter skin, they rise up. And
we just encouraged somebody in our staff who just turned 28. We were take nudes this year. You don't understand. You're not going to regret it.
It's never going to.
And if you don't want to go full penthouse pet.
28 might be too late.
I mean, it's at least take something, right? 25, 24.
Dude, I shower with my clothes on. It's it's gotten that bad.
Yeah, we're dying.
Yes,
yeah,
that is correct.
Decompress.
But you were not, I hit that point where, I still have a couple of milestones. I think 65 is a milestone. I think in terms of Social Security, maybe 68. But I'm in my 60s. I can no longer even
but you're holding up well though, man.
Oh, well, I'm a absolute physical specimen.
I mean, but you look good.
That's very kind of you.
Like, I remember also, like, genetics play a role, obviously.
Not mine.
Taking care of
I got
myself.
some pictures of the family I'd like to show you.
I'll show you mine.
Yeah.
They're like, I remember I was like.
But you're in the best shape you've been in your life.
That's true. That's the one advantage of getting really, really fat when you're young, is that you can really do a big self-correct thing. You can get really gross when you're young.
Right.
And then
That's when to do it.
That's when to do it. I see friends from high school. I'm like, oh, no, you're fat. You were.
Oh, how the tables have turned, my friend.
You were like this skinny little guy, and now you really have let yourself go. It's kind of
I could tell once you started giving out specs on gym equipment, I was like, oh, Tom's not fucking around.
No, man.
And I was like, yeah, I'm on the phone, and this guy brought me the XG90. So I tried it out for a couple days, but the plates, they weren't the right plates.
I think this is the only way I'm going to get through the next 15 years.
Right.
Being.
How old are you now?
I just turned 45.
Oh, Tom.
It's good. It's a good decade.
So good. 45 you're at the peak of your you've got 10 years of pure brain function and physical specimen.
Tell me.
Do you want to, I could ask you right now to go outside and shovel snow and you could handle it no problem.
I think so.
You would bang it out, come back in the house, toast yourself up by the fire, have sex with your wife, and then still like you're at the peak. 45.
45's good, right?
And 45, like people forget. I don't know if you remember the movie like Cocoon.
Yeah.
I think Wilford Brimley was 45 in that movie. Like
seriously?
Yeah, the ages of people.
It's completely changed.
Completely changed.
You've seen that ad, right? From the, it's an old ad from the 60s of like, it has 8 or 9 women. And it's like, these women are all 40. 47.
Right.
I mean,
look like the Golden Girls?
Some of them look 75.
Wow. Yeah, it's a totally different world.
It's a different world. They actually, there's a few that you go, okay, she looks 47 by today's standards.
Yeah.
Because everything has evolved with lifestyle and care. Some of them look so much older. You can't believe it. And it's like, they're not making a joke. They're just
it's almost like cigarette smoke is a carcinogen.
Yeah.
Like they were ensconced in, I can remember like in the 60s and 70s, like there was nowhere you could go that didn't just smell of smoke, like including doctor's offices. Like
everywhere.
You would go in for a checkup with the pediatrician. He'd be like, how you feeling today, Johnny?
Yeah.
Things are good? Your testicles drop? Everything,
And he'd be smoking. I mean, I remember when I would visit, my mom's from Peru, we would go the flight. It was like row 20 back was smoking. The row.
Well, it's not going to get up to 19.
Yeah, I mean,
how could it get up there? You're moving this direction.
Clouds. Of smoke. I mean, so much. And I was on those flights. I was like, oh yeah, this is. And you think it was normal.
Yeah.
You just like.
Did you ever get on those planes like in the 2000s that still had the ashtray in the arm? Like the armrest would go down and you pop it open.
Pop it open. Yeah.
That ashtray would be there and you'd be like,
this is. Yeah. And they still make that announcement. No smoking.
Yeah.
Now they go no.
That's only for Dixon, James Dixon. That's only to keep him from. I think they use his name now in the announcement.
They do.
On every flight. If James Dixon is on this flight, please do not smoke during the flight.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot, man.
It's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It is so cool. I was just in Italy.
Right.
And I was.
Were you playing?
No, I was just hanging for a few. I know. Nice.
Tom Segura having a nice. Is that? Have you taken vacations like that or breaks like that?
No, it was in the middle of all this. I took just the wife, left the kids with food on the ground at the house.
God, that's so nice.
But it was real quick.
As long as there's running water in the house, like a toilet.
Fine. They're fine. They can talk, they can figure stuff out.
Right.
But that was.
And the air conditioning's on, probably.
Probably, yeah. I mean, we leave it, not too cool. I don't want to waste energy, but. But
is that the first vacation, like for you and the wife, to get away for a little bit?
We do
because she's on the road too. Like that's got to be hard to.
Yeah, it's very tough. It's very tough, and we've signed up for a lot. But this is a really busy month, and then taking a good amount of time down over summer.
Oh, good. Is that when you're going to be doing the writing for?
So the writing starts in a week or so, and then we have a break. So we have And
Netflix now with the new WGA contract, I think they give you at least 3 days to write. How many episodes?
6.
So yeah, they give you 3 days. You get,
cool.
You get a half a day now
Yeah.
for each episode.
Well, AI's doing a lot of the outputs. So
Heavy lifting.
heavy lifting, bro.
Where in Italy?
We were in Rome,
Nice.
but we're going back to northern Italy
Okay.
for some of the summer, and then we'll spend some of the summer in LA too.
And will you, this time when you go back to Italy, will you bring,
We'll bring the boys. Yeah,
how old are they?
5 and 8.
But 5 and 8 is perfect, man, because they will actually remember this. Like
Yeah.
this is something they will clock.
Yeah,
And the magic of that is going to be, and 5 and 8 are such good age.
it's fun age. It's fun. They're
Yeah.
really fun dudes. My 5-year-old's so reactive.
Yeah.
He's so like, he hits the table, the fucking table. And we're like,
Whoa.
Jesus.
He goes fucking table?
Yeah, he does. And whenever I'm like, hey, she's like, where do you think he gets that from? I'm like,
Disney. Those are Disney
she's
shows.
like, he is you.
No.
T. And I'm like, no. She's like, you have explosive reactions to things. And I'm like, yeah, okay. But
Oh no.
yeah,
She's
the other day he goes, like that. And I was like, what? He goes, you're a shithead. He goes, I go, what? He goes, my brother's a moron, mom's a shitbag, and I'm an asshole. And I go, what? And then he started to repeat it. He goes, shithead, moron, shitbag, asshole. I'm like, bro. And he was just like, he just stumbled on a discovery. It was like,
what I like about that is it did seem like an epiphany.
yeah.
Like prior to that, he might have thought, Dad's a scholar. My brother is a compassionate and interesting playmate, and Mom is a saint.
But no.
Wait. No, wait. Hold on. I've got something here. Yeah.
Shithead.
Moron.
Yeah. And he really reacts to like.
That's a mantra, though. Is that now? Is he keeping on that? Is that
he didn't get it wrong once after he said it for the rest of the night, and I was like, dude, you gotta stop talking like this.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. When I look at my year, I look at what I've accomplished and I look at what I'm slacking on. I write that down to talk about in therapy and kind of help guide me in the right direction. I do a thing called a happiness journal, and I quantify the things that make me happy. And oddly enough, moderation makes me very happy. When I'm eating right and I'm working out and I'm not drinking too much, listen, when life goes so fast, it's important to take a moment to celebrate your wins and make adjustments for the rest of the year. Therapy can help you take stock of your progress and set achievable goals for the next 6 months. We all want to make those achievable goals. I have my achievable goals right now. I want to get below 220. And I'm doing that, talking through it with therapy with my therapist. And listen, if you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire. You get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Take a moment. Visit BetterHelp.com/bears today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/bears.
Buongiorno. The best way to learn a language, immersion, living where the language is spoken and using it every day. But if that's not in the cards this year, you can still learn a language the second best way, and that's with Babbel. Be a better you in 2024 with Babbel, the science-backed language learning app that actually works. Don't pay hundreds of dollars for private tutors or waste hours on apps that don't really help you speak the language. Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons are handcrafted by over 200 language experts to help you start speaking a new language in as little as 3 weeks. Babbel's tips and tools are approachable, accessible, rooted in real-life situations, and delivered with conversation-based teaching so you're ready to practice what you've learned in the real world. One of my favorite aspects of using Babbel is that they make you spell. So that is a really important thing. You think you've grasped a word, but when you're forced to spell it out, you really dial in and remember how that word is spelled and that you retain it better. Here's a special limited time deal for our listeners. Right now, get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription, but only for our listeners at babbel.com/bears. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/bears, spelled BABBEL.com/bears. Rules and restrictions may apply. But he's the one who, like, the 8-year-old, because you have kids, you're like, one of them will be like, so, like, he's so polite, like, he's really actually listens. If I go, that's enough, you got to get in bed. Yeah. He really is like, right. Okay, yeah. And he gets him, and the 5-year-old, he just resists so hard. And I was like, get in bed, and it was just repeat. And I was like, you know what? Tomorrow, You're not gonna have any treats. You're not gonna be able to watch any. And he goes, you fuck. And I go, and I start to like, he goes, and then I've never heard this combination of words. He goes, you nervous bitch. And I had to grab my mouth, you know? And I was like, I've never heard anybody call somebody a nervous bitch. But it made me laugh, and I just was like, get in bed now. And I couldn't.
How do you, and you can't punish.
I know.
It's too funny.
And I hear him in his bed. He's like, nervous bitch.
When are you going to be called into school for that meeting with the teacher where she says to you, your son called me a nervous bitch. and where did he get that? And you have to go, I don't know. I'm just a shithead. Ask him. He'll tell you.
And she is a fucking shitbag.
She's a fucking shitbag. And I know you're not going to ask my brother, the moron.
He's just a little asshole.
Exactly.
So, what's amazing to me is I was like, how's his language? With like, how's cursing? And they're like, excuse me?
Cursing.
They're like, he's the most well-behaved, which is actually a good sign because it tells you that your kid knows that in a certain setting, they have to behave a certain way. So he feels comfortable enough to call me a fuck at home, but he knows that in school or in public, he's like, you don't address other people. So that's nice.
I'm sure knowing that makes you less of a nervous bitch.
Yeah, it does.
More confident bitch.
A more relaxed bitch, for sure. Yeah.
They really do. I always found with the kids, some of it is anxiety when they're not with you.
Yeah.
Like they trust you completely.
Yes.
Like you'll protect them. You're the guy. But if not, they know like that person is generally the size of my father, maybe a little smaller, maybe a little bigger, whatever. If I ingratiate myself to that person, I'm safe in this environment of hooligans because I'm sure he's in with hooligans.
For sure. For sure. Yes. And yeah, it's a whole different.
When did he kick in with the profanity? At what age?
4.
Really?
Yeah. And the funny thing was, you know, as you know more than I do, these things evolve. You think your kid is this.
Yes.
You're like, oh, I remember like when he hit 2, you're expecting terrible 2s. And we were like, this kid's just like a little angel. Like
It's a dream.
He was just like, hi. Just a sweet kid. And then when he was turning like from 3 to 4, he just got all fired up. Like really fired up about stuff. And like, we were like, oh, this guy is not. And he started to get a little more dramatic, a little more, he's more performative with his feelings, you know?
Yeah.
And then we're like, oh, okay. So it's always evolved.
Trying shit out. He's trying shit out. I wonder too if it's, you know, some of it can be if the older brother is kind of like his path to praise is this.
Yeah.
And maybe your guy thinks like, I don't think I'm gonna be I'm not gonna be like my brother was really smart, like was just known in school, like used words. I can remember being in like, I think we were in a student council meeting and like I was in 4th grade, he was in like 6th grade and he was like, hypothetically, and the whole class was like, what the fuck just happened?
What? Yeah.
So I knew like that wasn't gonna be, and I wonder if he's thinking
maybe
that lane is taken, but you know it's not. Profane cowboy.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go out hard riding.
That's my lane. Because he knows it gets kids are all about reactions.
How can it not?
Yeah. And he knows.
Folks are comics.
He believes too that his older brother has special powers because he's convinced him. So he'll be like, he's like, if you don't give me this back, Ellis will use powers on you. And you're like, and you see that he's sincere, you know? I'm like,
they believe in magic still.
They believe in
Although the 8-year-old's on that cusp.
I know.
Do you do like when you're doing holidays and shit, do you still do like Tracy, my wife, would love to do around Christmas, like there were reindeer tracks in the house and like all that shit. And they whole hog believed in it. For somebody who didn't grow up with that, I was like, I get it now.
Yeah, you get
like,
it.
This is
because it's awesome. You see the wonder.
Awesome.
Yeah, the holy shit. Like when they see the milk and cookies and like Santa, and you're like, yeah.
Yeah. And the elf on the shelf.
Elf on the,
other shit.
He is at the age though when he starts to like ask logistical questions, you know? He's like, well, how come if the chimney had the fire? And you're like, hey, how about you stop asking so many fucking questions and just enjoy it, you know?
He's a moron. He can't help himself.
Fucking, yeah. He's like, door's locked. I'm like, yeah, I know. He fucking locked
He's magic, dude.
He has a key to the house. What do you think?
Yeah. It is interesting because a lot of times their perceptions won't quite match up with their not. Like I can remember when Maggie understood the mechanics of math, but not the context.
Mm-hmm.
So she would be like, so that means when I'm 60, you'll be 102. And I'd be like, yup. And won't we have fun?
Yeah.
You know, because they don't.
Yeah.
They're not understanding, but they got the logistics down.
We just had a death. Like death starts to affect. I remember too that used to be like, oh, when you're a kid, you're like, are my parents gonna die?
Yeah.
This just happened. Where
They just had a death and they know it.
No, they had. It just occurred to him like because when you said that, I remembered his mom.
This is the 8-year-old or the 5-year-old?
The 5-year-old. They were both in the same room, but the 5-year-old, his mom left a sweater for him because she was going to be gone. So he's like, he put the sweater on. He's like, this is mom's sweater. He's like, it's the only one in the world. And he looks at me, he goes, when she dies, it'll be mine. And I'm like, I go, yeah. And then
that's not even grief. That's
no,
more like.
But then he goes, I don't want mom to die. And I go, oh, she's not gonna. And then he starts crying. He's like, I don't want her to die. And I go, buddy, it's a long way off, right? And then his brother's like, mom is gonna live at least another probably 35 to 40 years. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty accurate. And then he goes, I just don't want mom to die. And my older son goes, I don't want mom or dad to die. And then the younger one goes, yeah, mom. And I was like, okay. Like he clearly has his favorite here. He just doesn't want mom to die. That's cool.
They do get, like, you'll get one of them. Like my son with me was like, one day I will defeat you.
Yeah. Oh, really?
You think you can mop the floor? We used to go to jujitsu together.
Yeah.
And I'd roll him around and, you know, and all I was doing was old man weight. Like I would just lay on him with old man weight.
Just hold on.
And he would just be like, one day.
I'm going to fuck you up.
And now he is. Like, he's like this.
Really?
Yeah, he fucked me up easy.
Yeah,
Like, I think I lost arm wrestling to him at like 15.
And then
And it was over.
Yeah.
And I kept telling him, I go, dude, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's not going to feel as good as you think it's going to feel. Because here's what's going to happen. You're going to defeat me. And then you're going to have a realization about the old man. About the arc.
The cycle of life and everything.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
But I like the idea, though, that he understood inheritance more than he understood. He understood that all this one day will be mine.
Yes, yeah.
I will own it.
I will own all this.
Aren't the conversations are fucking fantastic.
Do you have that? Because so like your kids are older.
Yeah.
Do they must, I mean, they have a concept of obviously the fact that their dad is successful. Are they like, hey, this is going to be pretty sweet. Like, when do you think you're going to kick it? Like,
they live more so they also have the concept though that dad is controversial. So they also know like, I'll get they're tearing you up on such and such.
Yeah.
They get that they've seen some really good things.
Yeah.
And they've also seen like me get the shit kicked out of me. Like I remember when I directed Irresistible, the movie, and wrote it. And like it came out during the pandemic. So we're all like together. So everything we experience in that, we became like the Borg, like just a pod that moved around the house.
Sure.
And when it came out, you know, we'd run the movie through previews and like other shit and like everybody's feeling pretty good. And then it came out and like I got the shit kicked out of me. Like some of those reviews were like, they were the kind of reviews that like other reviewers would call that reviewer and be like, dude, that was fucking amazing. You know, like
really fucking kicked his ass.
You crushed that motherfucker. Yeah. Like that kind of stuff. And my family was there. And like, I could tell my kids were like, do we have to move?
Right.
Like,
is this all over?
And I kept telling them like, guys, this is just, I'm in a dumb business. Like,
yeah.
Imagine at school, you make artwork, right? And then everybody goes like, that's really pretty. So imagine you live in a world where you make the artwork and then everybody's allowed to go like, that fucking sucks.
That sucks.
That's a terrible, I don't want that in my house.
So that really must have changed perspective from them on how some of this works. Like, especially because you're well-known and controversial or polarizing to some people.
I'll go with that.
Do they get, they must have an understanding of, you know how people get so into comments, right? Oh, look at how it's noise. Like they, after a while, the first time you read comments that are crazy, you go like, oh my God, right? Like it affects you. But they also probably are now, having lived with someone who has comments about them, kind of go like, oh yeah, this is just kind of noise, right? Like they.
Well, I think their brains are also, and I think you'll probably find this with your kids, like for us, this is a novel form of communication. So our brains are dealing with it as technology. It's not native. Like there's native functioning. It's sort of like if you think about like your grandparents, when they got on a plane, they were like, I'm in a tube?
Yeah.
And we're going, what?
Yeah.
Like to them,
tie.
it's a spaceship, right?
Yeah.
Like we're going to go on a plane today.
Yes.
Do.
Yeah.
So I do think there's probably something in their brain that allows them to filter the noise that you feel. Like for me, it's not, we grew up in stand-up clubs. Like you'd perform and there'd always be like a table or two that might have thought you sucked. And like you clocked them.
Sure.
But then you left.
Right.
This technology means like you ride home with them in the cab and the whole time they tell you what was wrong with you and your act. So I think for them, as long as I model sort of being fine, I think it allows them to.
So it's based a lot on you then, right? Like
I would think to some extent. Don't you think your kids would? They're pretty intuitive.
Very.
About what's truly urgent or catastrophic and what's not.
And what's going on with you too. Yeah, they pick up on you and your vibrations.
And I also try to explain to them, like, you're seeing a snapshot of success that does in no way justice to the shit I ate for many, many years.
Right.
That you weren't a part of.
Yeah.
Living in conditions and doing things that you would find unacceptable.
Right.
In the world that you inhabit.
Yeah, that's funny. Like
they don't get it.
They can't.
No. So seeing me get the shit kicked out of me a little bit, I think is helpful. A, because they see that it's not, it doesn't deter moving forward and making new things. And I just try and explain to them, like, look, man, I make things. And once I make it, it's kind of out of my control. And some people think it's great. And you'll see that too. And that's almost more uncomfortable.
Sure.
Like, it's more uncomfortable for me if someone comes up and gives me the, like, I love you, you're amazing.
Yes. Yeah.
Rather than, like, the comments of, like, that sucked.
Yeah. We are this close to crowning an NBA champ, and with the action heating up on the court, it's even hotter at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. There's only so many games left, and DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered with same-game parlays, live betting, odds boosts, and so much more. Don't miss out, or you'll have to wait until next NBA season to place your bets. It's super easy for first-timers to get started. Try betting on something simple, like picking a team to win. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, select your squad, and place your first bet. It's that simple. It's probably the first time in years where I've been super excited about how exciting the NBA is. This postseason has been electric, and I'm super excited to get involved with this. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the code BEARS. That's code BEARS for new customers to get a no-sweat bet up to $1,500 if your first bet doesn't hit. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
A lot of life is unpredictable, but a good life insurance plan gives your family a financial safety net to protect against some of the unknowns. Policy Genius is the country's leading online insurance marketplace. It makes choosing the right policy for your family easy and quick. With Policy Genius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year for $1 million of coverage. Some options are 100% online and let you avoid those unnecessary medical exams. Trust me, that is the go-to move. If you can get out of those medical exams, they're just a pain in the ass. I'm telling you right now, this is a no-brainer. Policy Genius helps you compare your options from the top companies, and their team of licensed experts is on hand to help you talk through it step by step. And Policy Genius has no incentive to recommend one insurer over another, so you can trust their guidance. Get peace of mind by finding the right life insurance with Policy Genius. Head to policygenius.com/bears or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you could save. That's policygenius.com/bears.
Do people feel comfortable enough telling you that? Do people ever?
People feel very comfortable with me.
With you? Yeah, I was going to say, because you're
generally with the, also with the negative.
Really?
Oh yeah. I'll get that even in front of my kids. Hey man, I just want to let you know, like, I don't agree with anything that you say. Like, I think most of it is just fucking stupid. But That thing you did for the 9/11 guys, that was real good.
Really?
Oh yeah, I'll get a lot of conversations because I live in kind of MAGA country.
Mm-hmm.
My wife and I usually play a game. We'll be going to the store and we play Trumper or insurrectionist.
Really?
So where we try and delineate, yeah, that guy's going to vote for Trump, but he's doing it for tax purposes.
Oh, right,
and
right.
then this guy, yeah, he's wearing the horns and he's going in with the chest painted.
Sure.
But so all their friends and a lot of the friends' families are like very conservative.
Sure.
So they got very used to comments.
Gotcha.
Like their friends and their friends' parents will say to them like, you know, you're not going to turn my kid into that, right? Or like, they'll talk a lot of that stuff. It's a lot of fun.
That's fun. That sounds.
It's really comfortable.
And you have, it sounds like you have to develop like a giggle for it, right? Oh yeah, sure. Don't worry.
Yep. I get a lot of that. Like, hey man, I just want to let you know. Like, it really is almost like a preamble to meeting me down there. Is always, you and I don't agree on everything.
Yeah.
You and I don't agree on a lot.
Yeah.
But sometimes you make me think, or something like that. Or you and I don't agree on everything, but I will let you shop here.
Cool. Yes. We will take your money.
Yes.
That's funny that like, that actually feels, I mean, it's hilarious that somebody does the preamble to, but also it is at least a dialogue, right? Like so many people don't engage in civil dialogue. Like that feels like somewhat civil, right? A little bit. Like,
I wouldn't say it's dialogue. I think what it is they feel there's something inside them that has to let me know.
You got to know.
I don't think they're looking to be like, here's my feelings about the Second Amendment and where I feel we differ and where I feel we are sometimes on the same page.
Sure.
I think it's more that, I think it's the same as it's a real bumper sticker area.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a lot of, like there's a dude that has, it's got to be 6 foot by 9 foot on his front lawn with a giant thing that says, fuck Joe Biden. Cool. Like on his front lawn and like
letting people know.
Regular neighborhood. I always thought you changed those. I was one of those, when you see something like that, you always think it's going to be like a different message every month. Like Jesus, loves, nope.
Sure.
He's consistent.
Fuck him.
But there's something about that, something inside them that says, I need everyone to know in the clearest, most concise way possible who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like that bumper sticker. I think they don't want me to maybe misconstrue that he might be liberal.
Right.
Or Democrat or progressive or anything other than don't tread on me.
I've seen more signs like that over the course of the last few years. Yeah. I'm saying nationwide, where somebody goes like, here's who big proclamation. I feel like that's not something that we saw as much 25 years ago in as many front lawns where people would.
No. Because what are you going to, like in the Herbert Walker Bush days, when you're going to be like, I'm one of the 1,000 points of light. Like now you'll see houses going at each other.
Yeah.
Like, Blue Lives Matter flag, MAGA, don't tread on me. Hate has no home here.
Yes. Stop Asian hate. Right?
And,
yes.
And they'll be next door to each other. And you just think, this is like I think they spend their days.
But do you feel like it's somewhat like, kind of like a boiling point? Like it's like things are firing up more for people?
I think with almost everything, it's I do think that social media is the kind of accelerant and the algorithm is a kind of accelerant that radicalizes populations in a way that we haven't experienced. In the way of like, so AI is a radically new technology that's going to change the way that we live our lives and do all these things, as was the Industrial Revolution.
Mm-hmm.
But the Industrial Revolution played itself out over decades.
Right.
And so, did we go from horses to cars and then cars to highways? But that plays out in an analog kind of a way. You can chart its course and its growth. Digital growth, that kind of geometric growth, is really hard for a population to catch up to. And I think any new technology like that creates disruption, right? The speed of it is, I think, what's different and leads to that feeling of explosiveness and disillusionment and not quite understanding. How many times were we told what they say to people with globalization, like, it's okay if your family have been coal miners for 3 generations. You'll learn to program. And you're like, I don't think I want, I think I have a connection to this.
Sure.
That displacement is now happening. Like, I don't know if you know anybody who's like a grant writer, but like you could go on ChatGPT tomorrow and make them obsolete. Like you could just type in,
It's happening so fast.
It's so fucking fast.
It's so fast. And the other thing that is like, I think so unique in this time is that you don't know what you're getting from whom at any time. So like whether it's AI or bots or
right.
another country's, program that they design, like there's so much coming at you that, I mean, I think personally I went through just like a fatigue and withdrawal, which I think is kind of normal in a way.
Absolutely.
You go,
do you mean from like participating in it?
Yeah,
or
participating and consuming information. Like, I always felt like I grew up in a house that was a evening news watching house.
Mm-hmm.
There was always Time Magazine and Newsweek and the Times were like that was just like normal.
Your house was like a dentist's waiting room.
Yeah, exactly.
That's highlights in one corner and then you had the other thing. Yeah.
And then you just go like, okay, I have the information. But information is produced and consumed differently now. And then you go, and then every time you go, well, is this the place to get it from? Then they go, well, you don't know, this is actually owned by this corporation. And so this actually has an agenda. So then you kind of feel like, well, I don't know where to get information. And it all can feel overwhelming.
And where it's from. And always understand that there are those whose job it is to weaponize that confusion.
Weaponize it, yes.
And to weaponize that delivery system. And again, it's not like that's novel. I mean, yellow journalism, shit, we got into the Spanish-American War based on the Vietnam War and the Gulf of Tonkin incident.
Yes.
Like, there's always been that misinformation, but it didn't travel at the speed of light in the way that it does now, where we're so far behind and we don't have processes in place to help establish certain guardrails around it. Like Industrial Revolution happened that everybody's like, 6-year-olds in factories, what could go wrong?
Yeah.
And that evolved over time. You had the great sort of muckraking journalists like Upton Sinclair and Ida Wells and all those people that uncovered all of these abuses and all of these things and helped kind of resolve some of the like more devastating results of it. But I think now it's so fucking fast. I mean, there's nothing better than watching the Senate committee on AI or any of those things, and you get like Zuckerberg and
testifying
and the guy from AI, and they're like, so let me get this straight. So there's a tube, and then I speak into the tube, and then the tube turns it into zeros and ones? Is that what I'm to understand? And they're like, well, it's sort of like that. So where do the zeros and ones go? And why do I look at it, it turns into porn? What's happening here? Like it's just fucking crazy.
It's too crazy now.
Yeah.
Which is why, are you going to run for president?
Oh, I wanted to announce.
Okay. So
and I really generally need 2 bears to make an announcement.
Yeah, I think but I mean, this is such a big one. How often do you get asked for that?
I think anybody that is in the space I'm in, I always view it as none of the above, in the way of it is a protest for the status quo being so unsatisfactory for people. It's the kind of thing that, like, I remember this was 15 years ago, somewhere along the line, 20 years ago, there was a poll done. Everybody made a big deal of it. Who is the most trusted newsman or newscaster in America? And it was Tom Brokaw and Peter Jennings and Brian Williams and Diane Sawyer and Jon Stewart.
Yeah.
And Jon Stewart won running away.
Yeah.
And I kept trying to explain to people, like, I could have been dildo wrapped in gold and that would have won. Because what people are expressing in that poll is, I'm dissatisfied with the status quo and the establishment delivery of this service. They have lost my trust. And so people in my area, you know, I'm sure Marr gets it. Tucker Carlson gets it. Like all the people in the space of giving opinions about the day's event. I mean, that's honestly, how did Trump become president?
Well, I was about to say.
Same shit.
It's the same analysis, right? Because everybody who goes, how the fuck is this guy president, or, you know, how is he getting this support? What most people you would hear, they're like, he's not like these other guys. You know, he's not from that political landscape where they say the right thing. And like, he was just this wild guy who was saying wild things. And then that was exciting to people. It was exciting that somebody was.
And the wilder it would get.
Yeah.
You know, everybody kept saying, well, he's certainly, now that he said that, it's certainly done.
Over. Yeah.
And everybody's like, he's going up in the, I think what ended up happening there is it was like an antibiotic resistant strain of something. And so people kept saying, well, certainly if we hit it with strep and if we hit it with erythromycin and penicillin, it would have to die.
Sure.
And then it was just like,
nope.
Not even close.
It's too strong.
Too strong.
It's way too
strong. Just keeps going.
And no, and I think too, it's, you know, it seems like everything is being done to not have this guy, you know, on ballots and
everything other than just have a better idea. Just fucking beat him.
Yeah, exactly. That is not being done.
No.
But all these other things, and I feel like if they succeed in getting him convicted or off ballots, I do think people are going to lose their.
They won't. I don't think they'll succeed getting him off ballots in any way.
Yeah.
I really don't. I think that chance. I think if they had done, and again, part of this is his understanding of the system. Part of his appeal was the system is rigged.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think everything he's experienced through here is an example of that, just not necessarily the way he thinks. I think it's showing if you've got money, doesn't matter how many felony counts they throw at you.
Yeah.
You can hold that off till you get granted complete immunity by becoming president of the United States. But the difference is somebody can be right about a diagnosis and wrong about the remedy.
Mm-hmm.
So like he can diagnose the system as rigged, and it obviously is. I mean, when they talk about his real estate transactions and they talk about, everybody comes out and goes, that's just how things are done. Like you go to the bank, you lie about what you have, they give you more money than they should at a lower rate. And then when you go there, you lie about that, and then they give you, and you just go like, oh, really? That's how it is? And so the interesting thing is once that gets exposed, a reformer comes in and says, I'm going to straighten this out and make it fairer.
Again.
Because it's right. Special interests. Yeah, you got to go down Washington all the time, man. There's more defense contractor lobbyists than there are people in Congress.
Yeah.
They're outnumbered.
Sure.
And they are wined and dined.
Deep pockets.
You know, the greatest example is like Wall Street. You know, people in New York, the senators, the Congress people are supposed to be progressive. Wall Street gets away with a shit ton because they pay all those legislators. This would be the place where reform would have a home.
Yeah.
New York City. They're all like, well, maybe the tax should be 20% on capital gain. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, maybe if you have a hedge fund, it shouldn't get taxed like regular money. And so you see how powerful, like they don't have fucking time. I remember when we went down there for the first version of what was called the PACT Act, which was that Toxic Exposure Act for veterans. So we got together a bipartisan group of congresspeople, and we all sat around a table. And I was there with Rosie and Leroy Torres, who were going to lay out like what they'd been through over the last 10 years, what was going on these military bases, all the terrible health effects of the different things. It was very similar to the 9/11. We lay it all out, very compelling. They're all on board. And then they go, but here's the thing. So there's so much going on down here. Could you guys write it? The legislation. Could you write it? And I'm like, I I could write a 10-minute bit about the legislation, but I don't know the first thing about it. They don't know the first. But in that moment, I thought, oh, that's how this shit happens.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine you're not trying to get health care for veterans. You're trying to get banking regulations eased so that you can make derivative swaps on mortgages and blow up the world financial system. And you go in and you say, oh, this is this thing and it makes a ton. And they go, it's so busy down here. Could you write it if I have to?
Right.
And they write it.
Wow.
So much of the legislation is influenced and written by the people it's supposedly reining in. And so there's like a wealth incumbency built into the system, or a legislative incumbency for these larger industries that weeds out competition. It infuses corruption and is really hard to stop. And what Trump is saying is, yeah, that system is rigged. But what he's not saying is, and I'll reform it. What he's saying is, so if you don't mind signing that deed over to me, I'll take care of it.
Yeah.
And that's the part that he's not interested in a fairer system. He's interested in to the victor go the spoils.
Yeah, that's very much, I think. And I think he's actually very transparent about that, Like, I think
yeah,
it doesn't take a lot to pick that up from him.
Yes, somewhat through happenstance. Like he'll go down to the billionaires at the Mar-a-Lago and be like, "Don't worry."
Yeah. No, but what you said though, it's so disheartening to hear about how the system works. Like, how do you keep from being like knowing so much, seeing that firsthand, and not being so cynical and just disheartened by everything?
You know those, they sell them now. It's like mushrooms and chocolate. That helps.
That helps a lot?
Just a little bit. If you take just a little bit of that. And all
nootropics?
I think that's something along those lines.
Sure.
They come up with the names like fun guys. That kind of thing.
Yeah, but it is, right? I mean, it does kind of take the wind out of your sails a little.
Absolutely. Those years lobbying down there were incredibly dispiriting. And I was a drop-in.
Yeah.
Like, I came in to provide air support for people. Like, they were there every day. Like, I ended up feeling like my role was to go down there and almost like USO shows.
Yeah.
Like, they've been in the trenches, so I'm going to go down there and be like, yeah, da 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 da, and kind of fire them up and think of ways around this really stultifying status quo. Everybody has establishment thinking. I mean, they literally call the way bills are passed regular order. You have to go through regular order. And you're like, but if we go through regular order, all these people are going to die.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we do not regular order? Like, when I ended up testifying in front of Congress, not the firefighters and the cop, but all the congressional people were like, just don't, just be cool. Like, everything's going fine. Like, don't rock the boat.
Really?
Yeah. And then the other guys would come up to me and be like, John, you got to fucking tell these people what's going on.
Yeah.
Because, John, it's a fucking nightmare. So I felt a responsibility to them.
Sure.
To not let them down in front of. But I think what happens is they get ensconced in this really protected system. And they lose sight of the people that they're supposedly there to kind of represent. Mm-hmm. And they're only responding to either media prompts or lobbyist prompts or activist prompts. Like, I'm talking about political activists, like right-wing, left-wing activists. And those are the only three groups that you would imagine have influence.
Mm-hmm.
But most people are fucking busy. Like, think about, like, for taxes, right? The Democrats always say, like, we need to tax billionaires. Okay, but what are you going to use it for?
Well, that's the big knock on the Dems usually. It's just more programs, right? More, yeah.
But what are those programs? And
who cares? Just spend.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of the
thing that I always felt they needed to do was tie spending to value. Like, if you talk to people and you want to know what would help, because most people, at least I think in in the general area of like what you would consider middle class, maybe a little lower than middle class, a little above middle class, are stuck in this weird trap, which is I work till I'm fucking 40 or 50, till my kids are going to college. Now I'm paying for their college, but just at that moment, my fucking parents are getting sick.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden now, I'm paying for them while I'm trying to pay. So now I'm in debt on the college for the kids while also maybe going into a little bit of a debt for the parent. So now everything that you built up, all that equity, right, over those 20 years of work is gone.
Yeah.
And what you really could have used was education that didn't cost so much, maybe some fucking childcare, maybe some fucking elder care, something that connects to your life.
And it feels like we live in a place where that seems like it should be possible to do.
There's no reason why it's not. Like, it makes no sense.
But you'd have to take from some other program, right? Like, that's the whole thing is no.
I don't know if it's a question of not having resources as much as it is not directing them in the right way. So I think some of it is, like, even if you look at food stamps, right?
Mm-hmm.
So food stamps ostensibly is like a pretty good program. Like people, first of all, there shouldn't be food insecurity in a country as rich as this. Like,
right.
That's just ridiculous. But the really strange part of it to me is food subsidies, food stamps are really a subsidy to like Kraft or Nabisco or the giant food conglomerates, because the majority of the foods that people are buying are these ultra processed, shitty box foods.
That's where those stamps are going.
Right. They're going to sodas and shitty foods that go right into PepsiCo. Like, we don't do anything that doesn't have a middleman with a corporate owner to it. So all that government money goes, it's really their subsidies. Like, why is there corn syrup and everything?
Yeah.
It's the fucking government just paying farmers for and then they're just giving the corn syrup and fructose to like, and so what do? They give us all fucking diabetes.
Yeah.
And then what's the next step?
Yeah.
Big Pharma comes in.
We got your back.
And now you're in the cycle.
Yeah.
They're literally combating the drug of ultra-processed food with the drugs from Big Pharma.
This is the trap that so many people get locked into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what are we getting for it? All that money that we go in, and we have the highest drug prices in the country, in the world. So that's when people go like, yeah, this system is rigged, but you can't change it because that's socialism.
Right.
If you do it any other way, no, you have to let, even Obamacare, that the right complains about, is basically a giveaway to insurance companies. What the government is saying is, how about we just give you a shit ton of money? And with that shit ton of money, you'll cover people that maybe you wouldn't normally cover, and you can still give them a $5,000 deductible. And they can still go to hospitals where you don't even know where the charges are coming from.
And even that.
Yeah. Are we really suggesting, like, I'm not saying you don't want to have like private corporations and private property and innovation and all those different things, but do we have to subsidize it?
But do you think anybody will ever actually step in and really disrupt this cycle?
Look what Cuban did.
With a pharmaceutical company? Yeah, that was amazing. That
can be done everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, that for people that don't know, Mark Cuban started this pharmaceutical company that he found out, which meds there were accessible to kind of to buy and do like a kind of a minimal marginal markup on. Mm-hmm. And then there's
which ones were, crazy marked up and which ones were being artificially withheld and all
it's basically fair priced drugs,
right?
Essentially, which is
they put old people on buses to Mexico.
Yeah.
To get like insulin.
It's crazy.
Right.
It's crazy.
But when you get down there, you go, oh, I know how this happened. Because they have access to the people who write the laws. The laws don't need to be 1,000 pages. The complexity of our tax code wasn't put there by poor people. The complexity of our legislation wasn't put there by poor people.
Yeah.
It's put there by the lobbyists in the industries that are carving out loopholes and safe spaces and extra ways they can make money.
To keep it coming in. Yeah. It's cartel shit, really.
Cartel shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the only solution for all this is probably The Rock maybe running for president.
There's very little. So once The Rock teamed up with Roman Reigns, that's when I realized, like, oh, he can't be stopped.
No.
Like when they were rivals.
That's a totally different time. But now you've stepped in the ring before.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure I have. Did you see that tape?
Yeah.
It's brutal.
Really?
The things you'll do. Now, your kids, the 8-year-old, is he into that yet?
No. He's really into Minecraft, the game, and Roblox.
The things that you will do.
Which was funny is that, so I found out, man, I had like a week, not even. I was on the road. They had their they had a 2-week spring break. Like, you guys get 2 weeks? I don't remember getting 2 weeks.
Not at that age.
No. And so I had this crazy idea. I was like, what if they're filming the Minecraft movie in New Zealand? And I was like,
oh my God.
I hit up Jason Momoa, who's in the movie.
No.
And he's like, come on down. So I flew him there, and I take my 8-year-old to New Zealand. And I'm like, we're going to see the Minecraft set. And he's like, oh, cool, cool. And then he walks on. He's like, holy shit. And I'm like, right? And then he's like, all right, what do you want to do now? I'm like, this is it, dude. like, this is it, bro. And then...
what do you want to do?
Yeah.
now?
And I'm like, this is what
No, we're here
we flew
in New Zealand.
16 hours. But,
right.
And then Jason has a dog, and he was just like, oh, this dog's fucking awesome. He played with the dog 6 hours.
You could have taken him to the ASPCA?
Yeah. And then the next day, I was like, it's our second day here. What do you want to do? He's like, I want to play with that dog again. And so I played with the dog. I was like, thanks for having us. Flew back, and I was like, what'd you think of the Minecraft set? He was like, cool.
Love that dog.
Yeah, that dog's the shit.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
It's only, boy, you shouldn't have started.
I know.
That's that grand gesture, like on your third date where you're like, and then we flew to Paris.
Yeah, exactly.
And I lie, and you're like, are you a sociopath?
I mean,
like, you're never gonna now.
I know. And I realize it's like a lot of, I think in terms of gifts a lot. I like gift giving.
Oh, that's nice.
It's like one of my, I guess it's my love language.
Oh.
But the real thing you realize when you're into any type of gift giving, the gift is for you. It's you going, you give it to somebody.
Yeah.
But it's your excitement of like.
Yeah, it feels great.
It feels good.
And when you nail it.
Yeah. When you nail it, you feel it. But he was just like, yeah, awesome.
That's it. And it's just and what's so interesting is the joy you feel being able to, like, I made the mistake of whatever show my kids were into, I would try and get on it.
Christina just did it with Is It Cake, the Netflix show. She just did it. She's just
and the kids like it.
Yeah,
do they still like it?
I mean, they were into the episode. They watched it, and then
See, I didn't figure in production time.
Yeah, so you did all the things your kids loved, right?
It was a thing called Jack's Big Music Show. First, I did Jack's. It's called Jack's Big Music Show. It was this great. It was like this super odd little puppet music show.
Mm-hmm.
And the kids loved it. And I like, once they move on from like Little Bear and Caillou and all that shit into like SpongeBob and good stuff.
Yeah. Then you're like.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
So they do this. I contact the show. I fly out to Chicago. They tape it in Chicago. They're the nicest people you'd ever want to meet.
Mm-hmm.
And super talented and very musical. And they've got all these puppets and do things. So I did the Groundhog's Day episode. I'm Brunk Steingruber, the weatherman of the thing. We tape it, but apparently they have to edit it and, do something.
Color
post,
correct it.
And it's going to take, and by the time it comes out,
they're like, I don't watch that show anymore.
They're on to Wizards of Waverly Place.
Yeah, yeah. That's hilarious.
So then I show it to them and they're like, yeah. I remember that.
You're like, what?
I remember that dog, and I was like, I flew to Chicago
to do this.
It's not New Zealand, but I flew to Chicago. And I was always like 6 months to a year
Behind on it, the switching. Yeah.
But the WWE, dead on.
Dead on.
And Maggie was different. Like, she didn't have, like, the interest she had in that stuff was like horses.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what, like, I couldn't be like, let's go to the Derby.
Yeah.
Like, my grandfather, like, died in an OTB, so I guess I could have gone there. There was a family history. But
with your son, you nailed it with WWE?
He was so, like, we would go on vacation and he would have a knapsack, like, that he packed. And then we would get there and we'd be like, where are your clothes? And he's like, I don't have any clothes. I'm like, what's in your knapsack? He's like, action figures. It'd be just filled with Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. And
really?
Oh, yeah.
So when you did it, he lost his mind? That's awesome.
So I got into a feud with Seth Rollins. And so he got really into that. And we did a thing at the Prudential Center in Newark where Seth Rollins had these two little guys, J&J Security, and they're two ball guys who wear these suits. So I dressed Nate in a ball cap and the suit. He was going to be my J&J Security when I confronted Rollins in the ring. Nate gets all dressed up, comes in the thing. Nate has an undiagnosed health condition at the time that we don't know what it is, but he's been having these episodes. We get to the arena. He becomes violently ill. So I'm in the dressing room getting ready to go out, and like I have to fake kick Seth Rollins in the balls. And we got a whole thing planned out with Nate and the other security. He's like 8. I mean, that's the magical.
Oh, yeah.
And he can't go.
No.
He's vomiting, like, can't move. He's just lying there, and I'm just sitting there like, well, I don't want to go. I don't want to do it. I want to do it with you.
Yeah.
And so I go out and I do it, and I come back, and he's fine. It was a night in an arena, Prudential Center, of WWE wrestling, right? Violent, physical. The only person taken out that night in a wheelchair was Nate. He was so, like, sick. He was sick for years.
Really?
Yeah, until we figured it out. But yeah, it's terrifying.
And did he still look back on that night as that was he excited that night just through his illness?
He's still pissed off about it.
About being sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, I could have been in the ring. I could have done, and then it ended up folding into SummerSlam in Brooklyn, and John Cena was fighting Seth Rollins that night, and they put on a spectacular match. I mean, incredible show. The athleticism, the drama, the kickouts. It is one of those championship bouts that people talk about, like they start chanting, "This is awesome," and the crowd is,
wow.
And at the end of it, little Johnny Dipshit runs out, busts into the match, hits Cena with a chair. Rollins pins him. When I tell you people were furious at me.
Really?
They're watching this incredible, and then some guys, fucking old dude, like nobody knows, just runs into the ring and hits somebody with a chair. And like people's kids were calling me and leaving obscene messages on my phone.
Really?
So angry.
So that following is really intense, man.
So I had to go back the next night for Raw, and Cena was going to confront me in the ring with Ric Flair. And so they say he's going to hit you with the attitude adjustment, which is, I don't know if you know the move, but he puts you over his head and then he flips you. Boom. I'm 56, 57 years old at the time.
And you're like, oh, I am going to get my attitude adjusted by this.
So we don't rehearse.
No.
There's no like, you walk out into the ring and they like point and they go like, yeah, he's going to, this is the ring.
Okay. That's where
like,
your attitude is going to change right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the show starts. I'm sitting in the back. They're all going through this thing. They're getting ready. The WWE doctor comes into my dressing room. He goes, hey, I just wanted to check in real quick. This is the doctor. He's going to check you out. So I assume it's going to be a, you know, have you broken any bones?
Yeah.
Anything. He takes my blood pressure. He goes, it's a little high. I go, okay. And he goes, all right. See you on the other side. And I was like, wait, that's not that wasn't a doctor. That'd be like somebody coming in and going like, hello, how are you? Let me take your pulse. It sounds good. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah.
So we go out there. Just right before I go out there, Cena goes, just tuck your chin. I'll do the rest. Okay. Around the ring, I'm explaining to him my reasoning for why I denied him the championship. I wanted to protect Ric Flair's legacy. We go through the whole thing. He goes, well, you had your reasons. Now I have mine. Takes off the hat, throws it, lifts me up on his shoulders. And he's like 6'5". He's a monster.
Big dude.
And that floor is a floor.
Yeah.
It's not a mat.
No.
It's a floor. And I hit it. And it was like the light switch from the top of my head down to my feet just went flink, like a lightning shot. And I'm lying on the ground. And they said it like, you know, just act like you're out of it. And I was like, I'm out of it. And the one thing I learned about it is if you are going to get the attitude adjustment in the ring, fucking tuck in your shirt. Because
yeah.
I'm lying, you know, these guys are like Olympians.
Yeah.
And I'm just lying there with like 20 years of babka just sitting in my stomach on the thing and just lying there trying to pull my shirt down and I'm utterly disoriented.
Yeah. It worked.
And then I'm done. And like, there's my boy. He's waiting. I come back into they call it the gorilla area, which is where all the wrestlers stage. And they're all standing there like, you did it, kid. Yeah, yeah. It was like that scene in Goodfellas. Where like, you got pinched, but you did it right.
Yeah.
So they're all, you know, Big Show is there and they're all clapping and Triple H and, yeah, good man, good man. And I'm just like, hey, that's good. And my son's just sitting there and he's like, did that hurt? Like he was literally like, I think you might be dead.
Yeah. And that doctor's like, yeah, your blood pressure's up. Like,
yeah. No, by the way, didn't hear from the doctor. I'm pretty sure he wasn't a doctor, but didn't hear from anybody after that until like, so then they do the final shot. It's just me sitting on the steps with my son next to me with ice on the back of my neck. That's the final shot.
Though, huh? That like big, dude, I just did a trampoline for a photo shoot for Netflix. And I was like, hey, that fucking sucked. Like falling onto the pad sucked.
Yeah.
Yeah. It sucked.
It hurt. The idea that those guys, and people always say like, wrestling is fake.
Well, they bang.
And you're like, I don't know of an entertainer or any entertainers who work harder and put on more of a show than wrestlers.
When I did, I told you that I went to the Undertaker's house. Yeah. And
that was to check out the gym equipment.
That was to check out the gym equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was just like, yeah, come to Mark's house. Mark.
And then he's just lying there and then you walk in, he goes.
He was, I mean, talk about like.
He's a big dude. Such a nice guy.
Such a sweetheart. He was like, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here today. And I was like, oh. But we were talking about, because we were talking about comedy, you know, how it starts. He was like, you know, what's it like the early days? And I was telling him about, you know, shit, club weeks and everything. He was like, yeah. I said, you know, one of the things that sucks as you get older is when you do doubles, you know, like 2 shows a night. And I was like, man, it just fucking starts to wear you out. And he was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, I bet.
I was thrown off a cage.
He was saying that they used to do doubles in his early days.
Oh, wow.
For the full, like the show. So like they do the full wrestling show, bang, fucking throw all this shit, clean up, do it again.
Wow.
And he goes, so when I got a little bit of juice, like when I had like just when it was starting, I just told him, he's like, no more doubles for me.
Yeah.
Just 1 a night. But like, that's crazy that they would be like, Thursday in a town, 2 shows, drive to another town, 2 shows. I mean, physically, I can't imagine what that would do to you.
And now those dudes are massive. And they jump on a bus and then go to the next place. But they were the nicest people.
I bet.
Like, you'd meet, like Undertaker when we met him, he was just, couldn't have been the nicer guy. Couldn't have been nicer to my son. All of them. Like, do you want to take a picture? They would talk to him. They would ask him questions. They would do the poses. They would, I mean, They were the nicest, most genuine. There was this guy that's sad because he has since passed away, but this dude, Bray Wyatt, whose shtick was kind of like, it was almost like this supernatural stick. Like they did the thing where like all the lights go out in the arena, and then all of a sudden his video would pop up like in, you know, ghoulish there, and he had really long black hair, and his move was the sister, oh shit, I'm gonna mess it up, Sister Abilene or something. And he would go upside down and walk like a spider, like a madman in the ring. Talking to him backstage, the kindest, you like the sweetest, nicest man, and spent a ton of time like hanging out in the dressing room.
That's cool, man.
And talking to Nate. They were lovely people.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
It's really nice to hear stories like that.
Yeah.
Especially from like big alpha male dudes being like that nice.
There was always a couple that were like, you know, side eye you, but almost to a person, they were. And they seemed like, it really seemed like the closest thing to a traveling carnival.
Yeah.
Like there was a certain camaraderie there. They definitely are outside of the system to some extent.
Yeah.
But they're lovely dudes.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think your sons are going to get into? Is it going to be like football, basketball, baseball? Like
it's not. So I had that thing where I thought having boys, that they like. I watched football with my dad.
They'd be you.
Yeah, so I was like, football. And they actually come in the room and go, oh, God.
Take it off.
Please turn this off. And I'm like, so bummed out.
What are they into?
So sports-wise, the only thing they actually really enjoy is going to jiu-jitsu. So they like
okay.
that. But they are into like just, you know, we just started showing them some shit we shouldn't probably, like Ace Ventura and, you know, like Dumb and Dumber, like all these like,
I thought you were going to be like 50 Shades of Grey.
No.
Sit down, boys.
But they're into like, you know, certain cartoons, and kids have this capacity to rewind a moment. Like,
and just keep watching it.
And I'm like, we just saw it 50 times.
Have they hit Phineas and Ferb yet? Or are they still SpongeBob? That's Phineas and Ferb's a great one.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
And then they do love Minecraft and Roblox. Yeah. They love those.
And those are like random video games.
Yeah.
Are they into yet what was the first like sort of first person video games was like Lego Batman or Lego Star Wars?
Yeah.
Those are good ones.
Those are good ones,
kids. Huh? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm scared to get, because I see how much it sucks them in.
Right.
To give them too much. Like we try to go outside and
do we also
did like
you know, books, a lot of books.
Yeah.
We did a lot of books.
Well, their big thing at night is tell us a story. And then I'm like,
I'm kidding about the books.
Oh yeah, no books.
We gave them Lego Batman. That was the end of it.
Okay, yeah, no books. Yeah, they hate.
Do they really say tell us a story?
Yeah, and then they go. I always have to go like, what kind of story? And they're like, either one where you pooped, or like where you got trouble doing something. And I'm like, okay.
Do they have to be fantastical, or do you give them real stories?
So that's the thing, is at one point I was like, I don't have any more shit stories, man. Like that's, and then they go, make one up. They tell me to make one up. they love it.
What a joy for them, though. Both parents are comedians. Both parents.
Yeah. And
now, does your wife? Does she put in like the hard jokes, or does she go?
No, she leaves most of it. They'll be like, Dad, take it away. Like, they're like, Dad gets it, because I just go like, and then I farted.
That's more your act.
Yeah, it's more like what I do. And man, they're just like, they'll even say like, if we laugh, you win. And I'll start telling the story, and they'll be like, Jesus, that was good. Like, you win. Like, they love it.
Think about that, though, dude. Yeah. Like, when you were coming up, and you were like, did you ever imagine your life would be this fucking full?
No.
And like, you know, comedy's sort of a singular pursuit.
Sure.
Sort of on the road, and
it is.
Sometimes there's camaraderie, sometimes there's not. But like, the idea that you could do that, do what you love, have a family, have those two imps, begging you to tell them shit stories.
It's amazing,
right?
It's amazing. It's an incredible life.
Yeah, it's an incredible life, and I'm so glad that you get to go now. And like, that move probably to Austin really opened it up for you too.
It's been great. It really has been. It's been great for the family, for the kids. You could tell they actually thrive more there. You really can.
Right.
The environment. I don't know. I love living there. I feel like our work is like all, planes and all these like different venues.
Yeah.
But going back home there is nice.
Right.
It's very nice.
And it's become like isn't Rogan's club there now?
It's hot. Yeah, it's a hot.
He's got his club. There's probably
There's
other.
Speak in the Cave. They opened one there. They started here and they have one there. There's a Sunset Room, I think that.
And there's enough people to like sustain it.
Yeah. Then there's a Cap City moved, but they have a club open. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff. There's a real scene in Austin.
Right.
Yeah. It's great.
That's great.
Yeah. How many more days are you going to add to your Daily Show schedule?
So I was thinking of doing Mondays.
Mm-hmm. That's already done.
Oh, then we're good.
No more.
No, dude. No more. Look at me. You think I can maintain this beautiful physique
You
and
look great.
supple skin without doing too many? No, it's what's nice about it too is like it was just like a reboot of the direction. They'd been going for like 2 years. There was the writer's strike. There was a bunch of guest hosts. Like now it's sort of, I think the staff feels like they just needed to recenter, and they got all these really talented correspondents, and now they're getting a chance to like.
But they'll is someone going to get named as the permanent?
I mean, I think ultimately,
Yeah.
But in the moment now, it's just about getting through this election year with the kind of infrastructure that they have now.
Were people when you're on your first day back in the room, do you have to like put people at ease? I imagine they'd be like, oh shit, like how do I?
I mean, that's always like I'm that way anyway.
Sure.
Which is strange because I am also very much an introvert. So it doesn't come naturally to me. And when I'm done doing it, I'm exhausted.
I bet.
Like there's some people that get energized by people.
I'm not like that.
Yeah, I'm not like that at all. So, but I was genuinely, it's been 9 years and a pandemic, and like I'm pretty self-isolating. So coming out and being in a room with a bunch of smart, funny people where you can just fuck around and
it's exciting.
When
I thought I asked you this when we were doing those gigs, but
those were fun too, by the way. I was
really
so glad to be able to do that.
Yeah,
so
was
thank
great.
you for
thank you
coming out.
That was awesome. When you first stepped away and the show's going on and you have this new, I guess it was I forget, did you step away during the election cycle or right after the?
Right before the election.
Right before, yeah.
So I left in August. It might have been in August the year before.
The year
election.
before, right.
Yeah.
When things started to ramp up, would you be like, I wish I was doing this? Or no, you didn't miss it?
No.
You're like,
and I wouldn't miss it. Like if someone said to me, would you go back and host the show again?
Yeah.
I would not do that.
No.
But it's sort of like being in a pickleball league. Like it's like if somebody came back and be like, so do you want to get back on, you want to play soccer again and like a high functioning thing? No. You want to do pickleball once a week? Yeah, I could do that.
Okay.
That'd be fun. It'd be fun to hang out with people for that week.
Well, we're lucky to have you, man.
It's
doing it.
It's been awesome.
I'm glad you're doing it. And I hope they rope you into some contract you can't get out of for a long time.
No, I hope we get to do more gigs. I want to come back out and have some fun. And hopefully Bert will be there.
If his health picks up, for sure.
Oh, dude, I'm sad about that. Is it?
No,
I hope
he's okay.
He's okay. All
okay.
right.
He's okay.
Yeah, that's good.
He's got the best doctors.
Good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So let's do some more gigs. That'd be fun, man.
Yeah.
And thank you for coming here.
This is. I actually live in the building. So.
You live here?
Oh yeah.
It's really nice.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you, brother.
Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.
Bert and Tom and Bert. One goes topless while the other wears a shirt. Tom tells stories and Bert's the machine. There's not a chance in hell that they'll keep it clean. Here's what we call 2 bears, 1 cave.